Elon Musk and the fight that he is in and the issues that surround him are at the heart of what is going to happen next. And the reason we know this is they involve almost everything that's happening from here in politics to China. Obviously Elon has taken over Twitter. He fired a lot of the leftist censors who threw off completely harmless and I would say beneficial people like Jordan Peterson and the Babylon Bee, the second funniest satirists on the internet. They were thrown off because they wouldn't stand for the woke cabal who run the embedded government, big media, big Hollywood, the universities, or as they call themselves, the resistance. I don't know who they're resisting. They're resisting us. They're resisting individuals. They're resisting the weak because they're the powerful. Elon returned Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, who should never have been a former president. He was an acting president at the time they took him off Twitter. He should never have been taken off Twitter. That was an absolute violation of our belief in free speech. And this stupid argument that it is a private business and therefore it has the right to knock off anyone it wants is just a stupid argument. It is too big, too rich, too powerful, too much of a central area of communication for political ideas to be censored on it. So now a lot of powerful oppressive forces are trying to stop Elon Musk from doing what he's doing. Every single day, the press, who should be the defenders of free speech, are announcing that it's in chaos, it's going to fail, and he's a terrible person, he's allowing Russian disinformation, none of which is actually happening. And of course, as the left is doing here, and by the left I mean the American administration, same thing is happening in China. Obviously, right now, there are all these protests going on in China. Basically, after inventing COVID with the funding help of Anthony Fauci, they locked down the country. And the reason they did this was because Xi Jinping was consolidating his power. He was overriding the term limit so he could become a Maoist dictator for life. And he didn't want anybody on the street while he was doing that. But they said it was going to curtail COVID. It's not curtailing COVID. It's hurting the economy. It's actually made people more likely to get COVID now that it's morphed into the easier to catch Omicron variant. They don't have any antibodies against it because they've all been locked away for so long. There was also a fire in a remote western part of China where many of the oppressed Muslim Uyghurs live, and they got out some audio onto social media of people pleading for their lives, but the firemen took 3 hours to control the fire, and the people there believe it was because of the lockdowns, and that started nationwide protests. And there have always been protests in China, but these are linked up. They are directed directly against the Communist Party, directly against Xi, and that makes them very different. And part of these protests are being supported through and maintained through Elon Musk's Twitter. Musk has helped Ukrainians, in their fight against Russia by supplying them with his internet technology, Starlink. But they're also using Twitter. Now, Twitter's banned in China, but people get on it through these masked VPNs, and they send out messages to a kind of central guy, a guy with a big following, and he sends that following, he sends his messages out to the West, and the protests are spreading into the West, where people who care about China are actually gathering, demanding more freedom, demanding the lockdowns come to the end. And the Chinese dictators are very, very concerned about Twitter being used to spread speech, and they're looking to act against Twitter. So here's a Chinese spokeswoman who's been challenged by a Western newsman about these attacks on Twitter. This is cut one.
When you say that you're going to be monitoring some of the speech on there, if you see something that you don't like, would you try to shut Twitter down?
So look, when you talk about monitoring, it is, I hate to break it to you, Peter, just like everybody else, we very much monitor the news. We pay close attention to everything that you all are reporting, and Twitter's in the news a lot. And so that's what we're paying attention to. We're paying attention to what is in the news and what is being reported on the misinformation that's out there. Let's not forget there's groups like NAACP, the Anti-Defamation League, and the public health leaders have been very vocal about their concerns as well. So yes, we are reading what you all are writing and looking at what you all are reporting about the misinformation that is out there. But, I would hope that all Americans, including social media companies, civil rights organizations I just laid out, including Fox as well, will agree that we need to call out hate speech and misinformation.
Okay, my mistake. That wasn't a Chinese official. That was actually the White House spokeswoman. But same difference, right? Because they're all threatened by anybody coming on and by free speech. They're threatened by free speech. And the reason they're threatened by free speech, if you follow this logically, no matter where you stand, if you follow this logically, there's only free speech and the speech of the powerful. There is only free speech and the speech of the powerful. The only two kinds of speech there is. Because if somebody is shutting speech down, it stands to reason he has the power to do that. And if you think powerful people are going to allow speech that threatens their power, you know nothing, 0% about human nature. Powerful people will preserve their power at all costs, even if they're duly elected. It's just an illusion that powerful people behave well in this country, because for so long we've had elections that threaten them if they behave badly. They threaten to take their power away if they behave badly. There's only free speech and speech controlled by the powerful, and that is why speech has to be free in order for people to be free. And this is tough on Elon Musk, because remember, Elon Musk is fighting with China, helping the protests in China, but Elon Musk's cars, the Teslas, are assembled in China, and that's a huge market for him. So when they criticize him, when they criticize Elon Musk, it has a chilling effect. It's a threat. It is a threat when the powers that be talk about Elon Musk and say he shouldn't be doing what he's doing. Here's a Chinese official. You can hear the veiled threat. This is another Chinese official making this veiled threat against Elon Musk. This is cut 5.
Republicans say that Democrats are picking on Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is doing just fine.
But do you think that users have a right to freedom of speech, even if what they're saying is wrong or offensive?
I think that one human being should not decide how millions of people communicate with each other. One human being should not be able to go into a dark room by himself and decide, oh, that person gets heard from, that person doesn't. That's not how it should work.
Okay, I'm sorry, that wasn't a Chinese official. That was Elizabeth Warren. But same difference, same thing, right? Picking on the people who threaten their speech. Because she's not picking on Jeff Bezos, who is one person who can control Amazon and also controls the Washington Post. She's not picking on Tim Cook of Apple. And Apple is a real problem. Now, recently, Elon Musk accused Apple of threatening to take Twitter off the App Store. Then they met together, and Elon Musk retracted that. I don't know whether he was saying it never happened or he talked him out of it. We just don't know. But now he says that Tim Cook is not threatening him. But in fact, Apple is against free speech. They are against free speech. Tim Cook made a big speech that I played on this show, part of which I played on the show, where he was going to expel so-called hate speech because he was the guy who should make that decision. You don't think he's against free speech? Try and find that speech today. You can't. It's been expunged from the internet because he knew what a fool he made out of himself, what a pompous fraud he sounded like, especially while he was running slave labor camps in China and while he was saying stuff like this about China to keep the China markets open.
China's done an unbelievable job of lifting people out of poverty. They've done an incredible job, I mean, far beyond what any country has done. We were talking about mid-90s to today. The biggest change is the number of people that have been pulled out of poverty, by far. And we should all applaud that. And we should all feel good about it. And so there are, in the environmental leadership today is very clear, and it aligns completely with Apple's values.
The Chinese environmental leaders,
yes,
the government.
Yes, I mean they're very fixated on doing the right things to avert climate change, and this is something that means a lot to us as well.
So when he says his values are aligned with China's, he's a man of his word. He puts his money where his mouth is. He's helping the Chinese suppress the Chinese protesters by rigging the iPhones, the new iPhones, which have a system, I won't go into it, but it's a system that helps connect other iPhones. But the Chinese version of it, you can't do it. You can only do it for 10 minutes, and that is keeping people from spreading the word of the protest. So Tim is out there really helping his friends, the Chinese, because their values align with his, namely the powerful should oppress the weak. Now, luckily for us, our American government so committed to free speech, so committed to freedom of action and free protest, of course, is not going to bother Elon Musk about allowing more speech. It's going to bother Apple about suppressing speech. Here is John Kirby from the National Security Council being interviewed by Fox's Martha McCallum.
Why not say something to Apple? Because we were just told the other day that the White House is keeping an eye on Elon Musk and Twitter. So why would you say that from the podium? You didn't say it, but Karine Jean-Pierre said it, and not call Apple out for helping the Chinese government to suppress their own people's ability to communicate.
Again, I think we've been very clear and consistent on this. Certainly publicly, we've been very open about our desires to be able to see citizens communicate. And Apple, if this is a decision that they're making, then they should have to speak to that. But we can't. And we aren't in the business of telling private companies how to execute their initiatives.
Yeah, but Twitter's a private company, too. So why is Twitter getting one treatment and Apple's getting another is my question.
Well, these are completely two different circumstances. You're talking about the potential. Well, you're talking about the potential for perhaps foreign investment and involvement in the management of Twitter. That's a different issue than what we're talking about here, which is a business decision by Apple with respect to how one of their applications is being utilized.
Certainly, they're getting influenced by a foreign government, and that government is China.
So, all right, I got that wrong, too. In fact, we're doing nothing to stop Apple from suppressing protests, but our government is, in fact, bullying Elon Musk. Listen, I was watching Martha's face there. It's very funny. I'm sure a girl as beautiful as Martha McCallum has been lied to by a lot of men, and you can tell she knew that it was happening there. The U.S. has been suppressing the news here. We know that government officials told Facebook to suppress the Hunter Biden story, and Google obviously has been working with the deep state to suppress the kind of information we get. If you search certain things, you do not get them. I have to go on DuckDuckGo to get the kind of information that's not geared toward supporting the left wing. And Elon Musk has basically released, it says he's going to release in-house Twitter communications that, in his words, show that Twitter interfered in elections. Those are his words. It interfered in elections. And obviously, he's talking about the suppression of the Hunter Biden news as well as other news. Elon Musk, talking about relying too much on the free market, Elon Musk can't save us from what is happening in this country. They turn against free speech, which is a direct result of the dishonesty of the left. They cannot have anybody say the emperor isn't wearing any clothes, so they have to shut down the little boy who says, oh, look, the emperor is naked. That's why they don't believe in free speech anymore, because all of their ideas are untrue. It's not true that a man can become a woman. It's not true that, government help actually raises people out of poverty. It's not true that more government is going to make us more free or happier or anything like that. So they lie. They cannot let anybody say that they're lying. And so that's why they are suppressing speech. And Elon Musk can't do anything about that alone, but he can act courageously. He can act courageously to show the way so that we understand, so that the voters understand left and right, because this isn't a left and right issue. It's a left and right issue, but it's not a Democrat-Republican issue. He can show the way so that we see the hypocrisy of the government. We see that the hypocrisy in Washington is China light right now. It's not China. Of course it's not, but it's China light. And when he shows that, we can relearn our principles. And as we go forward, we can recommit ourselves to free speech. I think it's going to take regulation. It's regulation that gave social media the power that it has. It's regulation that can take it away. Speech should be regulated to ensure that all opinions are represented. It can be regulated. It should be regulated. The government, the First Amendment protects us from government attacks on free speech, but the government is instituted among men to guard our God-given rights, one of which is the right to speak freely. They should act against social media to make sure that social media cannot censor us anymore. Not going to happen, obviously, with the Biden administration because they are just China light, but it's going to happen in the future. We got to make sure that it does. Man, that was fantastic. You want more like that? Like and subscribe. And also, please subscribe to the Andrew Klavan Podcast.